Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, fellas.
Good
Yo!
morning. This
I'm
just
like-
in, we're joined by Adam Gonzalez from Adam Has a Beard. Sorry, I'm practicing my radio voice these days.
Oh, hell yeah. Nothing wrong with that, dude. I don't know
When
how
you
to fix.
when you set up your microphone, you just have to do a lot of sound tests, and so you just practice your radio voice. Sorry, I'm just giving you time to get set up while you're doing it.
Oh, testicles,
Boom.
testicles, testicles.
Testicles, 1, 2, 3.
One,
3?
three.
Testicles
What?
1. Wait, what?
What? Wait a minute.
No, aggressive testicles. That's another thing.
That. Ooh.
Uh,
There we go. I think I'm set up now. I think.
all right, I love it. Boom.
Yeah.
Sorry. Jeffrey came in and surprised me, and I hit the wrong button and hit record instead of whatever I was gonna do.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Who knows?
I am so happy and excited today because I feel like we're running on all cylinders for the first time. I always say, like, Jeffrey and I seem to be more of the right brain perspective, and I love Devi and Adam for being more of the left brain perspective. And now we have Adam on, and I just love it. Love it.
I wouldn't say I'm any side.
Well,
Hi, I'm the no-brained perspective.
Or
Adam
primitive.
Adam
Sorry.
loves the mental health aspects of it. And, he loves men's health. He loves mental awareness. He loves getting in tune with the energies of the universes. I love those conversations. He's had 2 spiritual conferences on his feed. I love that. And he's been on a hiatus for a while, collecting his own energies and destinations around the planet that I want to hear about. So I want to know, while you were on, Adam Has a Beard is back, everybody. In the feed, he's got episodes coming out now again. He's back to a day shift, and I just want to know what's going on with Adam. What have you been doing on your break? What have you been doing since you've been gone?
Dude, so I got this, I don't think it's a massive promotion, but I got a good promotion. And so now I'm like doing something that I really love to do. And I get to lead people, which I'm like, people say I'm a natural born leader. I don't know about a natural born leader, but I'm a motherfucker when it comes to it. Oh, excuse my language. No, I'm not. But that's what I like to do, man. I mean, I like to lead people and like to do shit. And we're out there, laying out and beautifying the freeways. And then it's like, we got stuck on night shift because most of the stuff that we have to do like revolves around nights and minimal traffic. So yeah, I've just been doing that. We've been up at the rainforest, the whole rainforest, dude. The whole rainforest is like the most magical place like that I could think of in the Pacific Northwest. And it's just so amazing. Seen some amazing things at night and we got chased by Bigfoot and then I started like 3 bands and then I come back to days, and now I'm on days, and I'm like, I got to get some of this out, So yeah. So here I am.
I wasn't chasing. Wait, I'm not Bigfoot. Wait, no, you said
no,
Bigfoot, not Big
You're
Dick.
the little brother. Yeah, little Big Dick, not Bigfoot.
Right.
No, Bigfoot. Big Dick wasn't around. Wait.
Bigfoot is a euphemism for microdosing.
Well, that too, but
Hey,
but I thought for sure Bigfoot was out there.
But you did something I've always wanted to do and go to Hawaii. And you took your family to Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
And I think what I've been learning this week is that like the internet is more intrusive only because we allow it to. And I always think about kids are our future. So I've really been wondering how your son handled being in Hawaii, like experiencing things that you see on the internet. You know what I mean?
The thing is about Hawaii, man, it's like it's kind of cool. It's actually really gorgeous. It's really amazing. I met some cool people over there. I met shout out to Kanoi, dude. He was pretty awesome with parasailing. But my son handled the trip. The lead up to the trip was like more anxious for him. He was like super anxiety attackish about the whole situation. And then we got there and he was just like, oh wow, sun, pool, sun, pool, daddy's drunk, more pool. So he had a great time. I mean, there were some cool activities for kids and he was just all about it. And then he dragged me into it. Of course, I'm a big giant kid, so I was all about that too. So loved it. Every aspect about it. The sunshine, I think, was what helped him the most, because we're Washington State, and as Mr. Jeffrey knows, there's no sun. And when there is sun, it's like, oh, it's there. Oh, now it's gone.
Except for this summer where we had 90 days straight of it.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
I mean, it was amazing. A little concerning on the fire danger side of things, but
right.
It was like, I mean, I'm where I'm from, I'm used to the sun, because we don't get, out in eastern Montana, we don't get much rain, we don't get much snow, so it's like, it's either sunny and 100 or sunny and 100 below zero.
Yeah, there's no in between. But he had a good time, man. I mean, the whole family had a good time. My son was what the most important thing was, just like, is he going to have a good time? Is he going to, actually see the things that we're like excited to see? And he actually did. I mean, he actually like took the time and took a breath and relaxed, and that was probably the biggest thing for him to see.
I'm kind of curious. Was the anxiety because of the isolation of a pandemic, or just being a young kid doing something for the first time?
Neither. I think this one was flying over that ocean.
Okay.
My concern too was like, what if we crash and the dragons and the alligators get us? That's my concern.
Right. Then you died an honorable death.
Right. Heave ho. But I think that was that was our concern, his and mine. It's like, will that fucking crossing that ocean situation,
How'd you calm him down?
We just
how'd you all calm down? How about that?
Well, everybody else didn't give two shits, but him and I were kind of just like, we talked, and we were like, well, let's just do this, see what happens. And he did awesome. He did fantastic. He watched his movies or whatever, was on his iPad playing whatever, doing whatever. I didn't do so well. We landed, and I'm like, and then so then we land to go get our budget car or our rental car or whatever, right? And I'm like, and I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Grow up, Jackie. Jackie.
I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna take a breath. I'm relaxed. Then I'm like, yeah, I gotta go sit down. And then I feel so bad for this lady. I wish I remember her name. Also, she's coming out of the men's bathroom, right? She's coming out, and she's like taking her sweet ass time. I'm like, move, motherfucker, move, get out of the way. She goes like, are you okay? And I'm like, if you get out of the fucking way, fuck it. Boom, a barrel passed her way to the all over the place. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what happened? I was there for like 10 minutes straight. Got up, threw some toilet water on my face, and then I'm like, fuck, I gotta wash my face again. So then and then I left, and she looked at me and like, shit, I wasn't drinking. I don't know. Yeah. But you know what? I survived.
Hey,
poor lady.
Fucking move.
I'm like, fucking move, motherfucker. I gotta puke.
I just watched Semi-Pro yesterday, because I love Everybody Loves Everybody, and you just reminded me, oh mom, I puked, mom. I did it. I puked. I puked on my own, mom.
It never puked, and he got punched in the jejunum and finally got puked. Oh, that's funny.
I've been punched in the arm, both eyes.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great movie, man. Hell yeah.
It is. And because you always say Everybody Loves Everybody, and I'm like, where exactly did he get that from? Because I've seen the movie.
You remember now, right?
I do now. There's a whole sign in the locker room. Everybody, that's the one motto we all got to live by, and I like that. It's a great place to start.
Yep. And then on the bus too, they were talking about who's got a ring. He's like, I got a ring. Guess what? Hey, everybody love everybody. ELE.
ELE. I love that. It made me wonder if that's where you got Elements Divide, because of the ELE,
Yeah, Elements Divide is a whole other situation, because like when I was writing music in one of my other bands, we started a management company, and that I just got tired of being ripped off, you know what I mean? From band members, like taking your music and not giving you credit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna start a management company up, and what am I thinking about? Back then it was like I had these joints, where you roll up some joints and had all the elements. And I'm like, oh damn, man. So then I divided by opening them up, and I'm like, oh dude, what? Elements divide, fuck. So then that's where I got the management company name from. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah.
I love that. Hey, Jeffrey, guess what?
What?
Adam's here.
Adam's here.
Hi.
So what's going on? What's going on with Jeffrey? I want to know. I want to know how's everything.
Oh, it's everybody in the house is still recovering from this cold. Is a cold.
Still. Wow.
Well, I mean, it's, head cold. Head colds are rarely ever just like, okay, this sucks for a couple days and then we're done. It's just like you feel like ass and then it just like slowly tapers off over a couple of weeks. The last time I got sick, that's what I thought happened, except I got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then we come to find out about this thing called COVID. I'm like, no, but we had to do, a couple of us did the brain swabs so that way we make sure that it wasn't COVID. And nope, good old fashioned head cold.
Nice.
So yeah, that's going around just because, schools are a petri dish. There's, always was the case. And I want to, I just want to say that, I know that there's going to be a lot of nervous parents out there with their kids going back to school and they're going to come back sick. And, it's one of those things where it's like you have to take it one step at a time, and you have to be level-headed about it. It's like, okay, I had a kid come home sick, and it's like, okay, do you have a fever? Yep. How are you feeling? It's up in your sinuses? Okay. Anything in your chest? No. Okay. Are you feeling like fatigued? And they're like, I stay up really late and I get up early. I'm like, okay, do you feel more fatigued than normal? No. Okay. So you're not having any difficulty breathing? No. It's like, okay. It's like, this sounds just like a head cold. It's all up here.
No.
And so it's like, I know that there's people out there that are freaking out. And, even at work, we're telling people, it's like, look, if you get a head cold, stay home sick, you got sick leave for a reason. And so it's one of those things like, people are going to have to get used to the idea that, you're going to be intermixed with COVID and with the common cold and
everything.
And best way to protect yourself is to get vaccinated at this point, because COVID's here to stay, period, end of story. And the only way that you're going to make sure that, you don't end up having to say goodbye to somebody in the hospital is, just encourage everybody who can to get vaccinated. And I say that, who can, not people who can't. Because, I've had way too many people that, they're being ostracized for not getting the vaccine. And they just physically can't. It is a death sentence for them. And it's not just the COVID vaccine, it's any other vaccine. They have health issues.
We need to stop judging people. That's it. I think COVID
100%.
gave us some great ways to deal with the cold or deal with the flu, because now it normalizes wearing a mask if you want to. People ask me on Twitter all the time, do you still use a mask? And I say yes, because if this is how they were with COVID, imagine how loose they're going to be with the flu, Like
exactly.
I can't take 4 days off like that. I can't take 7 days off for a head cold. So I'd rather just minimize the risk. And now I look normal in a mask, you know what I mean? So thank you, COVID, for that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's the new norm now. And I just want to interrupt real fast and say this. I think that, and I just got a text message right now, and it's pretty fucking gnarly. People, with all this COVID and all this, everybody's situationally separating themselves and now getting back into the normal. Everybody is now drinking again and driving again and doing all sorts of stuff. I just want to say, I hope that my buddies get better. The wreck I'm looking at right now is just horrendous. Looks like the driver didn't survive. Looks like our guys got hurt pretty bad. Please don't drink and drive when you're out and you see blinking goddamn orange lights. How about that? Yeah.
Right.
Good. So
how about just don't drink and drive, period? I mean, we live in the era of Uber and Lyft.
Yeah. And friends.
It's
friends who give a fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
God knows how many times I've woken up at 2:00 in the morning to give somebody a ride home.
Right. Nobody ever complains about that. You know what I mean? They might complain the next day, but not having to do it. And honestly, we have places where we live because that's where we're supposed to be doing that stuff that we want to do that harms us, but not other people. So yes, drink, but try and do it as close to home as possible and without something that can kill other people. Like I wouldn't go around carrying an axe and getting fucking wasted. You know what I mean? Like,
And go to do some
don't use
weird stuff in the forest.
don't use a car as well. You know what I mean? Don't
Don't use
carry
that
a
weapon.
don't use a
Yeah.
weapon while you're drinking or
Yeah,
doing anything that
put your
limits you.
firearms away. You
Yes.
know, hand your keys over to somebody who's sober.
The keys, yes. Firearms.
Right.
When you're drinking,
Right.
drinking and firearms, usually not the best idea.
You need to come hang out with us then more often because it's a good time.
Yeah. Well, you prepare ahead of time. If you're going to drink and use a gun, you're going somewhere first while you're sober
Right.
to protect other people.
Mhm.
You're not just randomly walking out your front door and going, "I'm drunk. Hey, there's a car."
Yeah. I don't know how many times during this whole situation I've just been like, yeah, I'm going to be home. I'm just going to stay here and drink and this and that. Or they're going
Right.
somewhere. I drive myself somewhere and I'm like, I'm handing off my keys. I'm like,
Mhm.
I see who's here. I'm like, 1, 2. Oh, damn. Here's my keys now because I'm going to be wasted by the end of the night.
Right.
You know,
It's a choice you're making, drinking or driving. Like it isn't drinking and driving, it's drinking or driving.
Yeah, and I got this fancy little CDL license that I absolutely love. So I mean, I'm not going to risk it for anything, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I used to work trucking law, and I know how quickly that thing will disappear from one DUI.
Yep, and I'm not going to risk it. I can't. There's just no. I got too many cool shit to do, you know. So,
Yep.
Yeah, you know what's so weird to me on a side note, two things are going together in America with me, and that is Haitians are being turned away, like immigrants are being turned away, and we're having a truck driver shortage. And I keep thinking to myself, there seems to be a reason why we have a lack of people working, and it might be because we suddenly stop the people that are working.
Right.
So I just wanted to say that on a side note. Like white people, this is your chance to prove that they're not stealing your jobs. Go get them.
Step up.
Schrodinger's immigrant, simultaneously too lazy to work and stealing your job at the same time.
Right. While also projecting white privilege of I don't want to do the job, but you can't have it.
Everybody wants money, but nobody wants to work, right?
Well, and that's one of the wilder things is like when I worked in trucking, like it was like, okay, let me see what our client list looks like, Latin, Punjab, Latin, Punjab, white dude, Latin, Punjab, it was just kind of like, there were so many people that were driving truck and it's just like, okay, cool. Hey, you know what? They're coming over here. They're doing something that we obviously need done. So who the hell cares?
Who the hell cares? Yeah, let them in because they're also buying stuff every day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's how our consumer capitalism society works. People come in and buy stuff.
Yep.
So that's cool. I didn't want to get on this, but I do want to cover it because we were talking about firearms. So I'm just going to bring up Alec Baldwin really quick. Is there any information on what the projectile was?
So from what I've heard and read is it sounds like the group that normally takes care of the firearms, their union group, and they walked off the set because of unsafe working conditions.
Right, because of 3 previous discharges.
Yep. So they end up having someone in props end up handling this firearm, and they had just shot a scene where they had been using live rounds to do target practice. And somehow from there to the end to the next point, Alec Baldwin gets handed a gun where he has to shoot towards the camera, and nobody did their due diligence on that firearm, and he shot a live projectile at someone, went through their skull, and then out the other side and ricocheted into somebody else. Damn. So, and we were actually having this conversation last night, Debbie and Riley and I, and the question got brought up, well, shouldn't Alec Baldwin have checked that weapon? And I said, absolutely not.
Nope, it's not his job.
Well, and also too, like if you don't have firearms experience, what the hell is a person who knows absolutely nothing about firearms going to do with a firearm that they know absolutely nothing about? Like the tragedy in this situation is that a gun got put into the hands of somebody who does not have the training and experience to deal with firearms, and the safety of that set was compromised when the people who had experience walked off the job and they decided to keep going with that firearm stuff anyways.
Alec Baldwin never claimed to have that experience either. I just want to say.
No, he did not. And I, as someone who used to teach firearms, as someone who is very much a 2A enthusiast, what we have said time and time again is that outside of crimes being committed, the deadliest thing that happens with firearms is in the hands of people who don't know how to operate them.
100%. I agree with that.
Or children that think it's a toy, right?
But they fall under the people who don't know how to operate them.
Definitely.
Like it's there's a reason why we have our firearm tenants. Adam, rule number 1 of firearms, what is it?
Yeah, always treat the weapon like it's loaded, for one.
Absolutely. And so that's one of those things where, like, even when you think back before Alec Baldwin, when Brandon Lee accidentally killed himself, there were a lot of changes to the way firearms were treated on sets because of that incident. Now, I have issues with, using live firearms and pointing them at people, regardless of what it is. Even if it's blanks, there's still a wad that comes out. And so, we live in a technological age where you have electronic prop guns that will do all of the actions but not fire a projectile.
Right. They have CGI now. They can do the
Well, there's also CGI. So the idea that, you've got people pointing firearms that are actual firearms at people, that's a no-go in any scenario, period, end of story. That it's all it took was for one person to not do their due diligence, and you have one person dead and another wounded. And of course there's a group of people out there having a heyday with Alec Baldwin, and I'm like, look, you can shit on Alec Baldwin.
He's devastated.
You can shit on him for a bunch of different things if you want. But the fact of the matter is that the people you should be shitting on are the ones who did not do the due diligence before they put a firearm in the hands of someone who doesn't know what to do with firearms. Period. End of story.
Yeah, or fix that whole employment situation for those people to walk off the job. How about that?
That would have been a great one.
Yeah.
Where's the oversight of the community? Where's the oversight of the industry?
I guarantee you there's going to be plenty of that now.
No. But what about the 3 times the gun accidentally discharged to get them to walk off?
Well, I mean, that's unfortunately that's part of what ends up happening in any of our workforces, as I'm sure Adam can attest to. When you look at OSHA, it's not the first accident that usually gets things to change. It's usually by about the 4th or 5th one where somebody's either seriously injured or killed. Then somebody finally goes, shit, we should probably do something different. And meanwhile, normal people are going, this isn't safe, this has got to stop, are being ignored.
Yeah,
and not included in the process of fixing it, I think.
Right. Sorry, and it's also situational. No, it completely ties into it. It's also situational too. Like if you're on the side of the road, like for example, if like you have county roads where it's much lower speeds and they set up in a typical fashion for a lane closure or lane shift so they can operate and do a pothole or repair a post, or they could dig a hole for a telephone pole, whatever it is, then you have people who are driving more cautiously and paying attention. But then you have the higher speeds, anything above 45, the county roads, back county roads, 50 mile an hour, freeways. Then you have people who just like are very errant, you know what I mean? So then you have the stagnant situation where you're driving down the road and then you're just not really aware, and then all of a sudden, bam, blinking lights. Oh, what are you gonna do? Boom, drift right into it. You know what I mean?
Right. And it's that deer in a headlight theory, right? People are just drawn to it. And but I think here's the thing that a lot of places don't have is the statistician and the guy on the ground. I think all of the accidents go to a guy like Jeffrey who interprets it in statistical ways, but no offense, Jeffrey, is missing the perspective of an Adam to say, you almost got it right, but look right here. This is where the human where human comes into it, you know?
I would say that's not necessarily the case, because I guess I don't know. Does WashDOT have any type of accident statistician that's employed on the system? Do you know?
Yes, they do for sure. And the thing is, it's like what's missed is that communication between that guy who's zipping the ivory tower and me, who's actually boots on the ground. Never had a
Right.
conversation with somebody who says, you know, hey, this and that, this is what that needs to be changed. This is the situation about the whole everything.
Mhm.
It's never been that. It's always been like, well, what did you do wrong? And that's the problem with our with most government type jobs. It's like, well, what did you do wrong, as opposed
Mm.
to what did you see wrong? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So if there
Wow.
was a change in that whole system where the statisticians would come in and say, hey, well, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can mitigate. Let's see
Mhm.
what we can change, or how it can be changed, or if it can actually be changed.
What human factors can I add into my equation? You know
A
what I
You
mean?
know,
100%.
do we, you know, simple things like, do we need to add an extra 500 feet of notification that, hey, something's
Right.
coming up and we need to
Let's,
divert a little bit? Or
well, see, that's the thing. You know,
Do we
it's
need
like we already
common
have that
sense training on these people because they're
on people.
doing something wrong in general? Like
Yeah.
the job description is off a little bit. You know what I
No,
mean?
it's not even the job description, man. I think that that kind of thing, that kind of situation should be taught in like schools, or it should be taught in
Oh,
when you
of
get your
course.
license. That's
Yeah.
where it needs to start. The public needs to be more aware of what
Hmm.
the fuck they're doing. Get off your goddamn phone. Quit doing your makeup and drinking your beer and
Yeah.
coffee and doing shots and spanking your kids. How about this? Drive. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's
Mhm.
the part that is the most deadliest part about the whole situation is the public. Now we have our notifications. We almost have almost 2,000 feet of notification before you even come up to the work zone. And
Wow.
this is, I mean, beaten into us, you know, hey, we're
Hmm.
going to go practice. We're going to go practice closing lanes. We're going to practice setting up signs. And you have to set up signs here, set up signs. Oh, there's a side road. Now you have to go X amount of feet on that side road because those people need to see too. So the
Mhm.
boots on the ground situation is, you know, is really, really tight. I mean,
Kind of
there's
over processed, right? They're having you do 2 hours of work to do a 5-minute patch, something
and I'd
in the
much rather
process.
have that than, you
Well,
know,
of
setting
course,
up.
but what if there was
Yeah,
a way to even be safer without all of that? I don't know if there is, but
yeah,
something in the communication or maybe in getting a license yourself has to be an additional part of the test to let everybody
I think
know,
so.
you
Yeah,
know?
I think
Yeah.
so. That would be my vote. It's like, you know, hey,
Yeah.
learn this that when you're getting your license, because I mean, when you see those orange blinking lights, you see people, or even
Hmm.
even the state patrol, man. Those are our buddies. Those are
Yeah.
some of my friends. You know, they're sitting on the side of the road and people aren't moving over.
Right.
That guy steps out and like clips, or you know, something stupid, and you know, moth to the flame
Hmm.
situation, boom, hit that trooper. You know, move
Right.
Yep.
over. We have that law. You see blinking lights on the side of the road, move over a lane. If you don't, you're going to get something launched at you. And I don't, it's not going to be pretty. You want to stop a fight? Guess
Yeah.
what? My address 1600 Pennsylvania Ave. Come get me. You know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
it's
alcohol inhibits your ability to actually respond to those situations. You know what I mean?
So does
not,
you know, so does being on your fucking phone. I mean,
Of
yep.
that's
course, of
th-
course.
you know,
Yeah.
it's been 7 years since my accident that totaled my car, and the dude, you know, we had some moron that stopped in the middle of the fucking road right in front of us, and you
Hmm.
know, so I had to stop behind somebody else, and this motherfucker flew into me 45 miles an hour. I was at a dead stop.
God
Fucking
damn.
hurt. And of course, I ended up, you know, with the Chevy Impala that had the recall at the time, where if you had anything more than the key in the ignition, seatbelt wouldn't lock up and the airbags wouldn't go off. So I
Oh,
slammed into my fucking steering wheel.
oh, dude,
Oh,
yeah.
it hurt. But and you know, when I went in, I did my X-rays and I got taken care of. And the doctor, he looked at me and he goes, I don't understand how you don't have whiplash. I said, well, I'm a headbanger, so like,
I
he
got
goes,
that thick neck, motherfucker.
no, he literally said he literally said you have more neck muscle than most people do, and that's probably the only reason you don't have
uh,
whiplash or a severe neck injury. So remember, folks, headbanging to death metal and heavy metal saves
mm,
lives. Well, it saves
mm.
necks anyways.
I had banged the Lady Gaga, so there's that.
Woo!
Dude,
I
it's
had
it's
I
such a
headbanged to
situation.
Mozart.
Oh, damn, you classy. But it's rough, dude. I mean, you know, there's no real way to educate the masses because people aren't going to pay attention. They don't give a shit, dude, unless they read it on Facebook. And sometimes even then, people are like, "Yeah, I don't want to read anything on Facebook because I don't give two shits about it." but there's really no way for us to show any light on that, and there's no real way to get that communication clear. So be in the ivory tower to the grunts on the ground. There's no way to express that. Yeah, I mean, sure, we can call the news, but half the people don't even listen to the news. You know what I mean? So,
well, no, absolutely. And I think, maybe that's maybe it's another one of those situations where there needs to be a civilian oversight board where, you have the chance to go to, somebody who is AKA a group of your peers that understand the safety industry. And when WashDOT is acting like they ain't got your back, you've got an objective eye saying, no, these guys on the ground did everything right. It's, the fault of this person, or, hey, WashDOT, you need to change something because, you're not letting your people that are the boots on the ground make changes and adaptations in favor of safety.
And I think that's what the beautiful thing about where I'm at now is, even over when I was up north, dude, it was we could always be fluid, and we always added more, gave more space, more time for people, and added more, you know what I mean? And more is always best for when it comes to traffic safety and taking lanes and things like that. And so it's more fluid. So if we give them more space, more signage, more visibility of what we're doing, then it's still, you get those assholes who decide to take out the cones, take out barrels. And I think the only solution to that is like, if people would just allow, or not people, but if management would allow us to get state troopers into our situation, I think it would be 100% safer, because we, doing concrete panels, this is a couple years back, we had a trooper in our enclosure, and the typical norm was, boom, here comes a guy, boom, right into our work enclosure, knocking over cones. Oh, guess what? You didn't see the trooper. Surprise, motherfucker.
Oh yeah.
Glove treatment, boom, done.
Meanwhile, that's what they did. That's what they did in Arizona for the longest time, and I think that they kept that in place. Is that, they had like specifically a traffic division on their department of safety, and even within like the city of Phoenix itself, where at construction you had at least one trooper or at least one police officer. And they had the berries and cherries on, so you had your warning, and if you fucked up, well, that's an expensive fuck up.
Ooh, yeah. In a work zone, it's double. So
is there any recording of this? Is there any of the vehicles with recording capabilities?
A lot of them. A lot of our trucks have that. You know what I mean? The smaller ones, the pickups don't. For the region division that I'm in now, I mean, our specific guys, the traffic control, every single one of their equipment has a recording device. Nice. And then my stuff, the pickups don't have it, but everything else does. And so it's a good thing for us. I mean, you just go in there and something weird happens, and like go take the footage out of an XXX vehicle, and you can see what we were talking about. And then so they see it and they're like, oh shit. Oh, how do we...
like a black box on an airplane? At least it says the truth, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Although there's no road crew jumping out at cars going, ha ha, hit us.
No.
Like, I don't know why the blame would automatically be on you. So I think that's disturbing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and so like I said, it's also management. Wherever you're working at, depends on who's in charge. They suck. Not even gonna lie, they just absolutely suck. But where I'm at now, oh my God, let me tell you, they're just like, it's weird for me to see higher ups in a normal, oh hey, how's it going, blah 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 conversation. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn, hell yeah. And so like them to actually value you as an employee, it's the best feeling in the world. I haven't had that in like 6 years, you know.
Wow.
And it's amazing. It's 100% amazing. It's just a huge cultural shift now to see that, you know, they care about what we do. We care about what we do. I get excited about coming to work. I'm there early, you know. I'm just happy. I'm just like mentally fucking happy to be where I'm at, even if it is kind of dangerous and shit. But you know what? That's the norm for me, you know. Right. That's my norm, you know. So
what you're saying is that getting paid $10 alone isn't enough to want you to do the job, that maybe more incentives like communication and interaction with higher ups helps.
Yeah. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Like
A
job
handshake.
security, job safety, these
Yep.
things are or what's important to you, not just like a 4-hour shift with no lunch and no insurance. That's
Yeah.
not it. That's weird.
Right. And then the other thing too is like sometimes we don't get a lunch because we're our office, my office is the freeway. And so that what we do usually is like, we have, X amount of hours before the truck is warmed up. We got to go do our thing. Man, we sit and we just bullshit, go over things. And then
Mhm.
and get on the road. Hey, we're on the road for 6 hours. And, obviously you get your gratuitous, pissed on the tire brake and then back to the shop. I'm like, all right, hour and a half lunch. You know what I mean? So it's got its perks. It does have its perks,
Oh yeah.
like or the camaraderie, the team building, the occasional supervisor or superintendent or the regional manager coming in, man, good job, hey, how's it going, do you need anything, can I make your job any easier? And I'm like, well, if you can get me some sun, that'd be nice.
Right.
And it's just it makes a world of difference, man.
Yeah. If you keep asking people what they need, eventually they'll need less. You know what I mean? So keep
100%.
asking, because then eventually you'll get to the point where, what do you need? I don't need anything. Thanks.
Yep.
Exactly.
I just need people to work. That's it.
That's it. Yeah. Happy people. I love it. So let's
Mhm.
get into a story, guys, because this is a perfect example of something that I wanted to talk to the two of you about. All right. So in Riverside, a teacher is on leave after she wore a faux headdress and mimicked Native Americans in a video. And she did it as a mnemonic device to teach people how to learn math. And people are kind of insulted by it. So I wanted to start with Jeffrey and ask you, is this just liberals crying about being or is this liberals being overly sensitive?
No, it's
Okay.
not. Like, so I grew up in a pretty conservative part of the world. I have cousins who are actually Native American.
Okay.
So for me, like, I was very used to the idea. It's like, my cousins, they grew up, learning both, the culture that, I grew up in, being in the Catholic Church.
Mhm.
And they also grew up, being a part of their Native American culture. I used to go watch them perform. It was some of the coolest stuff ever. Seeing my cousin Sarah in, her full regalia was just absolutely incredible to see. you know it's not like there's if you really wanted to bring in a quote unquote Native American perspective, I'm sure you could have found someone who would have been willing to come in and actually talk and not just be like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to need you to wear the headdress because otherwise it don't count, they won't think you're like that shit's
Right.
insane. Like,
That's a
out of
great
all the
point.
ways out of all of the ways you could teach, this is what you chose. And I'm gonna go with that's just straight cringe is what it is.
That's what I think I put in my note. And this, this is attached to it. Is this just critical race theory gone too far?
No,
Okay.
like it's literally like, how much more do you need to insult a group of people
Right.
before I just
Cool.
yeah, I wouldn't say it gets me fired up, but
Yeah,
it's
it should.
it's
That's why we're talking about it.
it's one of those things where it's like, this was a really fucking dumb decision.
Yeah.
And why you decided to make this decision is beyond me. As if there weren't 1,000 other ways that you could have taught kids
Mm.
in, what you were doing. This is the method that you chose. It's absolutely insane. What next? Are people going to dress up in baggy clothes and FUBU and start yelling the N-word while they teach a person math?
Good point, bro. Good point.
What the fuck? It's the or what was or that homecoming one where it was, I'm white so I don't pick cotton, or whatever the fuck that thing was.
What the fuck?
Oh,
Oh
What's
yeah,
that all
this
about?
one. Yeah, it was a weird one, and it's like, I don't know what the fuck anybody was thinking. It's like, really, like, there are
Yeah.
so many things that you could have chosen to do, and this was what you chose.
And this is how you chose to do it. That's interesting. I just want to say these are
Brain
some of the
dead.
questions I could think of that the far right would be screaming about. That's why we're addressing this way, because this is an easy answer. But I did want to bring some people that are screaming about political correctness to know that this is definitely not what this is. So I'm sorry for getting some questions that are so obvious.
Well, it should be obvious. That's the thing.
Well,
But
it should be, but not to everybody, to people that understand, but the people that don't, we have to kind of slow walk them to the here. You know what I
Let's
mean?
hold their hand and bring him in. This
Right.
isn't right.
So
You know?
I'm gonna ask Adam. Oh, so this teacher did this time because she was allowed to do it times before. This is a repetitive thing for her, and she thought this was normal. So what I want to ask Adam is this a teacher just trying to thread the needle of keeping kids engaged while educating in a world of political correctness?
I believe so. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I believe that she was trying to get them engaged. I mean, for one, let's start off with this: pick a different costume or a different outfit, different. Why not? Why not this? Why not dress up as Michael fucking Myers and then try to keep the kids engaged that way?
Or
But
Cookie Monster.
if you're going to like Jeffrey said, if you're going to engage and wear the beautiful regalia and try to drag another culture through the fucking mud by insulting them this direction, hey, how about not? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I understand what she was trying to do. I don't agree with it. I just absolutely do not agree with it. Pick yourself, you know, go Michael Myers. That's what I'm saying. But
or
dress up as a Viking.
Or,
you know,
find
you're
an
white as
actual
fuck.
or find a natural Native American to do it.
Yeah,
I like
I'm not
that.
going to know
like
anybody
that.
I don't know any natural Native American who's going to be like, you want me to do what for your what? No,
Bang a drum. Well, it's a mnemonic device. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's how you learn to count, right? Yep. So bring in a Native American tribe to do the drums and dance while you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4. I like that. I
wouldn't necessarily say that, you know, but like, you know, bring them in and you know, and have them teach their perspective of how did you teach your youth?
Yeah, that's great too. Or
that's
both.
a better way.
That's and that way it's like you get multiple perspectives. You like it's like you're not telling people, hey, dress this way, but come in and do it my way. No, how did you guys how did your ancestors do this? Let's teach that.
Yes, I like that much better. But I think that she was trying to keep those kids engaged, and she thinks that by dressing up in different costumes is the way to do it. Okay, that's cool.
Right.
But let's stay away from some, you know, what I consider to be royalty.
Somebody else's heritage isn't like a costume, right?
Right.
Like the Samoans would not appreciate you dressing up like a Samoan shaman for Halloween, right? It would be disrespectful. Just like, you know, a black person can't dress up as the KKK for Halloween. It'd just be weird. Don't do that.
Don't do it. Clayton Bigsby did it, but you don't do it. Everybody just don't fucking do it.
Or a blackface. All of these things are inappropriate. So Adam, what I want to know is, how do you think this affected the actual Native American kids that were like in this class or in the school or in that like community? Overall, how do you think this just should be seen? You know what I mean?
I don't think it should be seen maliciously. I think it should be talked to, and I think she should be, you know, addressed. Hey, let's just not do that anymore, because that is just, you know, culturally unacceptable. You know, I mean, it's just don't do it anymore. The kids, you know, they're like, hey, well, we saw this. They innocent kids went back, told their parents are fired up. Now their parents want heads, you know what I mean? So it's that she should stop. Just don't do it anymore. Like I said, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, you know, Freddy Krueger, dress up like Chucky. Shit. You know what I mean? Don't dress up like what I consider royalty. Please don't. You know, it's just it's not right. It's just not right.
Well, I'm wondering if demeaning them slightly in this way kind of justifies to other people the violence against Indigenous people. Like you said on your show, and you talked about the missing Indigenous people with Gabby disappearing. And that's where I learned that 3 out of 4 Indigenous people under the age of 20 have faced violence. And I'm wondering if these little demeaning ways of entertainment kind of lead to other forms of demeaning behavior until it becomes violent. Is this a slippery slope? Is this the top of a slide?
Yeah, I'd say it was, man, because it's the
Okay.
tip of the iceberg. I mean, like, it seems like people have forgotten our history and how we push these beautiful cultures into oblivion. You know what I mean? We pushed them onto reservations and we killed them off slowly and just destroyed their cultures and taken over their lands. And now pissed off because, oh, they got casinos. Well, I see a lot of them motherfuckers coming up and gambling. You know what I mean? So this
Yeah.
is the tip of the iceberg. It's going to be, we don't want it to get to a point where it went with the George Floyd situation. You know what I mean? And it just, America blew up and it was not a good situation. And then you have, of course, everybody mad about, Black Lives Matter or Asian Lives Matter. And then, well, white lives matter too. Yeah, guess what, motherfucker? All human lives matter. But everybody's taken a situation and blown it up out of proportion and not thinking about how someone else is going to feel. Sure, it's a macho situation when it comes to war. I get it. I understand. But at the same time, on the other side of that coin, you have to think about compassion. You have to think about their past. You have to think about how their relatives went through life, and then apply it. If you can, apply it before you make your rash decision, before destroying somebody's culture like this. And then dressing up like an Indian trying to engage kids. I get it. Yeah, I get what she's trying to do. I really do. But I don't think this is a good idea to start there and have a whole race war that we won't win. It's not a good idea.
Yeah. But I think at some point you have to start with the teacher by explaining to her that it was wrong.
Yes.
And then, like, too many times what we're doing is we're finding outrage and then backtracking the process. Like, that's where I learned this teacher's done it. She's done it every year. And now we're getting upset about it. But she shouldn't be like treated like a martyr or exiled because she did what she's always done. But we're maturing as a country, right, Jeffrey? Like we're learning, and that process looks like this friction. But in the event, in the end, we're all going to be better if we just give each other space to be wrong.
And that's where Debbie talks a lot about what's called restorative justice. It's you're not, it's the idea that it's time to stop looking for heads to roll.
Right.
Like, point out what's wrong, give people the chance to fix it.
Amen.
Find a way to move forward with those people that you have offended. That's why I said, yes, let's have this teacher stop doing what they're doing. First and foremost, let's talk about why it was wrong. But more importantly, it's like, just because, it's something that you've done, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to continue doing it. But at the same time too, if it's something that, showing multiple ways in which cultures have learned how to count, this is absolutely a chance for us to talk with, great wisdom that is Native American culture, and learn, how did you teach your kids? How did your culture teach your kids? And go from there. Because, guess what? Now they get 2 lessons. They get math and history.
Boom.
Like the intersectionality of that.
And on top of that, they get to experience what are really neat cultures. And we get to talk about, why, what those cultures do, why they've done them in a historical context. And ultimately, we get that whole process of, let's get everybody involved. Let's let everybody have the chance to learn and love.
So. It comes down to my question: why is this violence being committed on a people that have been here with us as long as time? You know what I mean? Why do we have to commit violence when we can just walk away and go? Like on Adam's show, the last advice I gave was, think less about me and more about you. If you want to bully somebody, instead of doing that and hurting somebody, go do something that rewards you, right? Instead of punching somebody, go get some ice cream and make yourself happy without hurting somebody else. And so I never understand doing the extra effort, putting forth the extra energy of hurting yourself by hurting somebody else,
Yeah, violence should always be the last resort. You know what I mean? Honestly, unless you've harmed one of my nephews or nieces, and then it's all blood.
It's all blood.
But at that, it should always be, violence should always be the last resort. It should never be the first thing you go to. And why not understanding, compassion, and I'm not saying that violence is not a good thing, because sometimes it's a very good thing. It's football Sunday.
Well, yeah, MMA. Baseball. We got boxing going on. Yeah, no, definitely.
But it should always be a second resort. It's like, hey, Jeffrey, you committed something against me, man. Can I please sit down with you? And I need to understand, and then let's move forward past this. And then guess what? We are going to hold hands and drink coffee. You son of a bitch. Son of a saint, excuse me. You know what I'm saying? But
my mother was no saint. Bitch might be more accurate. I think she'd even agree with that.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like that's the point. It's like we can disagree. We can agree to disagree. Jason, you got a different point of view than I do. Nope. Jeffrey, you got a different point of view than I do. And I have the primitive point of view where I'm just like, let's do this.
I'm done judging people for how they live their lives. Like it's so much effort to go, what's Adam doing? Oh, I hate that. What's Jeffrey doing? Oh, look at him. It's so much easier to just delete Facebook altogether and just talk to you guys like this and be like, that's cool, because my belief is, if I do something to you and you don't tell me that it hurt you, you're the asshole. Right? You just want to be mad at me. But if you address it and say, hey, Jason, I didn't like that, and then I do it to you again, guess who the asshole is? It's me. You proved it. You can move on.
Right.
That's why I just use my Facebook to ask Adam how many nudes I get for $25 and then get zucked.
Yeah, I sent him a lot of nudes for $25.
Yeah, I got thrown in Facebook jail for that one. Apparently, I was soliciting sex work by asking Adam how many nudes I was going to get.
That's so cool.
Awesome. That is so bad. I'll send you some free ones for the week. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And also, that's kind of diminishing and demeaning to me. Facebook.
Right?
Facebook, come on.
Sex work is work.
Tinder is the new place to find a sex worker, by the way. I'm not quite sure how or what the tags are, but I just discovered this on
Jeffrey turned me on to farmersonly.com.
Yeah, you can find me under Christian Mingle at cumguzzler69.
Is that you? Because I'm Goat Chaser 44.
Right now, cumguzzler69 is actually pissed off. He's like, that's me.
Oh man, nothing beats a good conversation, though. I'm telling you, man. Don't choose violence. Bring it all back. Rein it back in with that teacher. Get some understanding with her. Maybe see where she's coming from. Why? Get an understanding as to why she's talking about that.
Yeah, but I'm sure there was some kid in the class that just had his head in his hand while he was recording this, going, "This is how bad it is." But maybe like the next day, go to the teacher and show it to her, like one-on-one. I was always taught, don't argue with somebody in public. Don't teach somebody. Don't yell at them in public what you can do in private first, right? So go to that teacher one-on-one and go, look at this and look at me. Do you see where this would be offensive? Can you not do it again?
Yeah.
Instead of, guess what? I have a news story and now I'm going viral on Twitter for a few days because I hurt somebody's reputation,
Yeah, and like I said, the glory of school, the glory of education is that you have the opportunity to bring in various different people and perspectives as a way of keeping kids engaged. 100%. There's no reason why, this can't be a learning moment, a teaching moment where it's like, okay, we did this wrong. I want to keep kids engaged. Is this a possible way in which we keep kids engaged? And hopefully the answer is yes. And if not, then great. We'll find another way.
Yep. I think our penance should be teaching some Native American situations or some part of the history of the Native Americans. So, hey, this is what I was thinking. This is what I was trying to do. But this, in all reality, this is the spectrum, or this is the lesson we're going to learn today, or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I say get some indigenous teachers and call that American history. Like get some socially active Black Lives Matter people to teach American history, right? Get some great Muslim people, because people forget during the time of slavery, just like the Holocaust, it wasn't just Black people that were slaves. It was Muslims. It was Dominicans. It was people from Bermuda. It was people.
Chinese.
It was, yes, it was
Chinese.
everyone that wasn't like white.
No.
So just like the Holocaust had like disabled people in it, during slavery, disabled people were killed because they couldn't live being slaves. They weren't profitable being slaves. So we've all been oppressed, but we can't just start with the anger. We got to just kind of start with the conversation.
Got you. 100%.
I love that. Any wrap up words, Adam?
Just, you know what, teacher, don't do that. Just don't do that. Michael Myers situation. Go ahead.
Well, usually we wrap up the show with like recommendations. You're more of a music guy, right? And you said you had some bands going. So let's go with music this week.
Dude, I got 3 bands in the works right now. I got one is I5 Senses, where I'm like teamed up with Zach Pearson, who is a fantastic hip hop artist. He fronted a hardcore band out of Tacoma called Utterance for 10 years. He was the voice of Utterance, hardcore. And so him and I, you know, two different dudes, we've known each other for 20 years. We started this band, I5 Senses, and it's a mixture of metal, a mixture of hip hop, it's a mixture of rock, it's a mixture of jazz, it's a mixture of lowriders, it's a mixture of boxing, it's a mixture of fist fights with chickens. It's everything. It is everything. So, and then the other band I'm in is called Scat Tamer. It's you know, collection of, I wouldn't say punk necessarily, but real fast metal. That's BPMs. Well, the BPMs are 90, so it's like a slow
cruise metal.
It's like a Nickelback rock type fusion with death metal, and it's fucking awesome. Whatever, it is what it is. We have about 14 songs. Like, so, you know, one of our lead singles is The Dung That Binds Us, or The Truck of Ill Repute, or The Orgy in the Blue Car. You know, it's I mean, it's whatever, you know, it is what it is. But the one thing I do want to recommend, I'm reading this book. It's called Dark Days by Randy Blythe, the lead singer of Lamb of God. And that would be my recommendation for the week for music or anything like that. It's reading this book. It's a fantastic book about him and his time when he was accused of killing, you know, a kid who was on the stage, and it talks about the trials and tribulations of being an American in a prison overseas in probably one of the worst places in the world, and having to overcome language barrier and culture and everything. So go read that book, Dark Days.
Okay. How about you, Jeffrey? You got any recommendations?
Oh, do I always have recommendations? There's new Shadow of Intent out. And it is fucking brutal. It is so good. I'm enjoying that. I also recommend a Japanese death metal band called Dexcore. They've got some crazy shit out there. That's fucking great. I'm really enjoying them as well.
Nice.
As far as reading goes, honestly, I've been rereading it's called the Nordic Baking Book. It's a mixture of the history of Nordic baking as well as recipes from all of Scandinavia and how they bake using different mediums, using different grains, and it's I absolutely love it because it's like, you know, it's part history and, you know, part I'm a fat kid that loves food. So
yes.
So highly recommended.
I'm gonna go with that because anybody that sends me a Nordic cookie called Fuddyman has my heart. I actually friended somebody from Norway, and I friended a bunch, but this one girl accepted. Like when I first got on Facebook, and I didn't know who she was. I didn't know her name. Well, you know, I knew her name, but I didn't know anything else about her. And I just sent her one question: how do I make Fuddyman? Because my great aunt used to make it. And she sent me the recipe, and I gave it to my mom one Christmas, and my mom started crying. She was so happy.
Oh, damn.
It's like the
That's
driest, weirdest cookie, but you like it once you can't have it. Well, thank you for being here, Adam. You're welcome to stick around for our next episode. I just wanted to let you know it's almost football time. Do you have any predictions?
I'm almost considering giving up football. Seahawks are lost right now, and Steelers are doing fantastic, and I'm pretty happy about that. But I have no predictions this week. My Dodgers are out of the World Series. I'm devastated. I've taken up the Letterkenny Irish hockey team that doesn't even exist. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
And you're getting into more high school football, right?
Oh my God. Let me tell you, my nephew, shout out to my nephew, Ethan Gonzalez. That dude it's just so amazing to see number 33 do shit. And he is just such a great kid. And he's doing just a great athlete. I love him to death. This is his senior year. And then yesterday I went and seen my other nephew, number 24, Mr. Silas Gonzalez. He is a naturally gifted athlete, and that kid, let me tell you, he stands all of 3'2" and 9 years old or 8 years old, and he's just quick. He's quick. He's tackles everywhere. He's in front of the ball. He's behind the ball. He's running the ball. He's throwing the ball. He is, making some crucial stops, and then, got hit early on in the game. I'm talking 3 plays into the game or 2 plays into the game, and played with an injury. And he's like, yeah, I can't move my arm. I was like, oh shit, dude. It's like, dude, is it broke? And it's not broke. We had one of our friends who's a nurse check it out. But man, I just love to see my family do shit, and my nephews were just awesome,
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it was cool. Yeah.
Hey, family, community, conversation. These are the things Public Access America is about. Thank you for being here, everybody. Tune in this Thursday for the continuing conversation we're about to have right now. Welcome back.
Yo.
That's my favorite thing, because the second episode always starts with a laugh, because it's just so funny to just keep going.
Like, what the fuck's so funny? What joke were they telling?
Right. That's so funny. So I watched on Hulu this show called China from Above. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but it's a documentary on the advancements that China is making.
Damn.
They're just throwing billions into everything. They have solar panel buildings now. They want to revolutionize the industry that I thought America was going to have on green technology, but they're already creating solar panel buildings.
They're always way ahead of us. You know what I mean? I think
they weren't always, but they are now, aren't they?
Yeah.
They've got their solar technology is ahead of ours. Their hypersonic missile technology is ahead of us.
But just all this clean energy, they're trying to corner the market on it.
And I think they're going to successfully do it. I mean, India's giving them a run for their money as well.
Good.
But this is one of those areas where, we're kind of, we're allowing the fossil fuel industry to essentially be the last horse and buggy salesman
in America.
Yep.
And in the United Emirates, like those 2 places.
Yep. Yeah.
And even the Emirates is moving towards green technologies,
Mm-hmm. No, it's going to be, if companies don't invest in renewable technologies, honestly, like our country's going to fall behind on it. There was no reason why, Detroit shouldn't have turned into, the electric motor city from the motor city. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be producing solar panels at a rate, that is just absolutely astronomical. There's no reason why our technology should be behind China's. Like, they're beating us with their supercomputer.
Yeah.
There's no good reason other than the argument I would make is that both parties have allowed this to persist.
Do you think it's a political thing or a capitalism
absolutely.
thing?
No, I think it's a political thing. Okay. And the only reason I say that is because in capitalism, the market is allowed to correct for itself, correct? Okay, well, when you're giving a bunch of people that work in the fossil fuel industry all of these tax breaks because you're a politician and they donate to your campaign, what encouragement is there for them to redirect their money into newer technologies?
Absolutely none. Yeah, they're not going to make any money. then nobody's going to make any money. Those people aren't going to make that kind of money that they're making with the primitive technology, that sucks.
But do you
That
think
sucks.
so? Do you think because China has one leader, it's easier for them to pivot and do these moves where we can't?
I would say that China's got three distinct advantages that we don't have. And it has nothing to do with leadership necessarily. Number
Okay.
one, China has a ton of resources because they are a large country. Number two, I would argue that China has advanced the way that it has because of forced technology transfers from American companies and
Boom.
other countries.
Yep.
And number three, I would argue that slave labor has been a deciding factor in their ability to make production at the levels that they are possible.
Yeah.
Period. End of story.
And also no limits on their pollution for a long time. They didn't
For a
they
very long
weren't
time.
right. They're covered in smog right now. So they didn't have the regulations. They didn't have the employee protections like the unions. So I can see that. So what I'm trying to get at is even if Donald Trump came back into power, became a king, it wouldn't change that because
No,
he doesn't have the slave labor. He doesn't have all of that stuff you just mentioned.
no, China will have all of this technology in place to be able to produce and corner the market because we have discouraged American innovation, research and development, and production because of our willingness to lay in bed with the industries that we're giving tax breaks to. Period. End of story. And basically what it boils down to is something that I've talked about with you multiple times is that the only way to truly incentivize these companies is flat out tell them this is what your tax rate is. Anything that you do in terms of research and development, production, and innovation will all be tax free in order to get ourselves caught up in the market with China. That's the only way that it's going to work.
China is about the same size as the United States,
Mhm.
not population wise, but just geographically. I always thought China was more like the size of Russia, So in mentally, it changed like I always thought they have so much land, so many resources, and so much slave labor. Of course, they're going to be able to mine this stuff, but they just have the same amount of room as us, and they're doing all this extra stuff,
Same amount of room, three times the people.
Right,
Yeah.
but we're taller, right? By feet, we're taller. Shouldn't we be able to do more higher up?
About the only thing that
It's stack each other on top of each other, man. That's how it works. That's how I do it.
the only thing that
Do you think any of this is propaganda though, Jeffrey? Like
I
China
guarantee you
putting
that
on their
half of it is.
best. Yeah.
Oh, I guarantee you half of it is propaganda. There's no question about that. It's kind of like how China has been like, oh yeah, no, we've only had like 60,000 deaths from COVID. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, I guess if we're gonna play with those numbers, we've had like 3.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
And sorry, it's bullshit. I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe it. I don't believe anything most governments say,
Mhm.
and I really don't believe what China says. Period. End of story.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of propaganda bullshit in there, but the other reality is that because of forced technology transfers, because they have the willingness to use slave labor to stand up these new plants and
Mhm.
create this production, they are cornering the market. And I will say this, it's going to be cheap crap. But it's better than what we have, which is no crap. So
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think they've faced two things I think they haven't faced yet, and that is trying to maintain and upkeep this infrastructure that has exploded in the last 40 years, 50 years. And they've never dealt with climate effects like we have. And I think soon typhoons or hurricanes or devastating weather events and maintenance on an aging infrastructure is going to hit them like it hit us. how much money can they dump into research, development, and maintenance? It seems like a lot. We couldn't do it. How are they going to do it?
gunpoint.
So I don't know. Watch them
That's
fail.
the gunpoint is literally the answer. I mean,
Yeah.
you do what the Chinese government tells you to, or if you don't disappear, your family does.
Yeah, right.
But if you put all your eggs into an advanced electric transforming system and then that system is hit by a devastating weather event, that's what a $30 billion for this new high level electric system. If that fails, you have to rebuild it. You're just devastated. I just don't know. I don't know how long they can keep doing that, because we couldn't do it after Katrina. Katrina broke us, and that was the first of the weather storms that hit us.
Right.
Well, I mean, what Katrina showed us is that we weren't taking the care of our infrastructure systems the way that we should have been.
Right.
And then we doubled down on that for another 15 years, saying, "Yeah, fuck it, we'll get to it later."
Mm-hmm. And now we
then
have
you could get Texas and its issues, and you
in
get
California and their
California in its issues, and multiple other places. And what it boils down to is that if you don't fix the infrastructure issues at hand now, it's going to be even worse later, and people are going to sit down and they're going to scream, "Oh, well, of course, it's this, that, and the other." And it's like, well, it's one of those things like we call confounding variables. Are the weather systems getting stronger and worse? Yes. But you want to know what else is getting worse? Our infrastructure. So it doesn't really take as much storm to knock out our infrastructure as it does. It's just that now that the storms are getting stronger and we've had an additional 15 years on already beaten up infrastructure, the losses are getting worse simply because you haven't done anything to improve the system.
So what's the answer? I mean, do you think that wind power, or going with the natural thing like, them wind farms or dams, increasing the dam situations and causing that whole fiasco?
So I mean, what it boils down to is something that I've talked about a lot, and that's energy diversification. If you lay in bed with one industry and that industry goes down, you're fucked. But if you use multiple different industries to power your systems, then you're going to be fine. And what it boils down to is that I think the answer lies in wind. I think it lies in solar. But I think that people have to have the uncomfortable conversation that I also think at least in the short term, nuclear also needs to be an answer. And I say that because there are new systems out there. We're not talking like the old GE systems like Fukushima or the Russian systems like Chernobyl. We're talking about brand new systems that have been designed in the last 10 years that have far more safety features, that have far more technology and oversight into them, and don't use explosive fissile materials like uranium. Thorium is actually is actually the most common radioactive element on the planet, and China is already starting to stand up thorium breeder reactors as part of their demand system. Why? Because thorium breeder reactors can actually take nuclear waste down to damn near nothing, if not nothing. And it's a lot safer. It has a lot more safety precautions in it than our old systems do, than our old GE systems do. Like, it has better safety and control than things like 3 Mile Island, for example. The reality is that our nuclear systems, much like the rest of our infrastructure, have aged out, and we're not doing anything to replace those systems. So guess what? When something does fuck up, or a storm does hit it, yeah, of course it's going to be bad. Why? Because you're not doing anything to upgrade the system and fix it. It's kind of like if you have a piece of shit car that keeps breaking down and you don't actually fix it, well, the next time you actually have a major problem, it's a lot bigger, and you're going to sit down and bitch and moan about it, but you never did any of the work to keep it up to begin with. So honestly, I think between wind, I think solar and nuclear, because you will have two renewable sources and then you'll have an on-demand source. And the reality is that nuclear is still the most efficient power source out there beyond fossil fuels, beyond wind and solar at this point. And I say at this point because science is a beautiful thing, and it allows us to figure out how to gain efficiencies. Solar cells keep getting more and more efficient. I want to say that the newest solar cells range anywhere between 28 and 40%. It's becoming one of the more efficient systems out there. Nuclear is still the most efficient system out there, with our current systems ranging at about 65% efficient. But with the thorium systems, I've seen anywhere from 70 to 95% efficient.
Damn, that's good numbers. I just wish that people can't capitalize off of that, can't make money, so they're not going that route.
Oh, I think that there's absolutely a way to capitalize off of nuclear, because guess what? You're gonna, as you see a shift in the demand of to electric vehicles, you still have to have that on-demand source that's going to power your vehicles, and your demand is simply going to be at the quote unquote pump. You know, we're used to paying how much ever money to gas our vehicles up. That demand is still going to exist at the electric pump.
Mhm.
Now, technologies need to improve so that way you can get more charge on your vehicles faster. Battery systems need to improve so that way you can get more kilowatt hours into your systems. But the reality is that that on-demand system is going to be necessary. There is going to be a market for it, and as companies like Ford and Chevrolet start to put out their electric systems, their large electric systems, you know, their sedans, their pickup trucks. I mean, Toyota's got their iForce system that's going to be coming out at the end of the year that they're already releasing the specs on. As you get more electric demand, you're going to have more demand for those on-demand energy systems like nuclear. The issue is not that there isn't a market for it. The issue is that it's so everybody doesn't want it in their backyard. That's the answer.
But
Because
somebody will.
they've seen Fukushima, they've seen 3 Mile Island, they've seen Chernobyl, and that's what everybody thinks of when they think of nuclear. And I would say if you were looking at building the same type of reactor system, absolutely, I can understand why you would think that and feel that.
Right.
Mhm.
Those systems were literally designed in the 50s,
Yeah.
Right.
not the
Hanford.
2010s.
Yeah.
And we're still using them.
And yes, and still using them. I know we got Hanford over in on the eastern Washington, and they even had a situation happen to them and they got shut down. You remember that? So it's time to upgrade.
Right.
It's time to do it better. And honestly, like, the fact of the matter is that I feel that this is something where, you know, when it came to the infrastructure bill, Republicans failed in getting nuclear to be part of the on-demand system, to be part of really the quote unquote clean energy system. Because despite what people may feel about nuclear, it is still the best producing non-carbon emitting energy source out there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I want to just say really quick because you touched on that. And I sent a tweet to Lisa Murkowski about this. I told her that if she got 9 other Republicans to actually do their jobs and work and talk and compromise, she would have the power that Joe Manchin has right now. Like, I don't understand why Republicans, 10 of them, aren't coming out of the shadows to work for progress, to have the power, because we're negotiating amongst ourselves. We're at the lowest point, 1.75. This is where the Republicans are supposed to come in and negotiate it down even further. And you're giving a Democrat all the power. So I don't understand being not part of the process.
I don't get it either, especially when this would be, you know, their chance to
Yeah, make a difference.
I wouldn't even necessarily say that, because, well, Republicans, but I would say more like their chance to include things that would allow the companies that they represent to shift towards what it is that the market is shifting towards, and in an
Right.
easier way.
Yeah, it's
So,
because it's funny, like Kirsten Sinema said, I don't want to raise taxes on the rich, which I kind of understand on corporations. That's what's driving our economy right now. And she's the one that's saying it. And Democrats were like, wow, we found another way to pay for it. Well, duh, maybe that should have been a Republican that said that. You know what I mean? Like, you could be a part of the process and shape it, or you can just obstruct it and then get mad at Democrats. Democrats have always spent way too much because they had daddy there, daddy Republican, to go, let's make this financially feasible. And the other way around, Republicans come up with an idea and Democrats are like, here, spend a little more and you could get this. And it's a great relationship, but it seems like one side just tuned out. You know what I mean? Like, the parents are separated, dad's in his apartment and mom's ruling the house now. Kind of sucks.
and I'm going to take this opportunity to say that the Democrats have proven once and for all, well, I shouldn't say once and for all, But Democrats are the best way that Republicans get elected because, I mean, you look at this, we're 9 months in and it's been such a shit show from the Democrats that it honestly, I'm not going to be surprised if the Republicans retake the House in 2022 because the Democrats haven't gotten anything done. Literally, they've had the infrastructure bill done and they could have passed that.
Oh yeah, the smaller one, right? The
Yeah, it was
bipartisan thing.
the
Yeah.
bipartisan. And guess what? That would have been a huge win for Democrats and Republicans, yes, but mostly for Democrats because they would have shown that they would have actually gotten something done that people actually cared about.
Yeah.
Infrastructure is usually one of those things where you don't exactly see a whole lot of bipartisan disagreement because
Right.
everybody's got infrastructure, everybody needs that money.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is that if the Democrats don't get this infrastructure bill passed by the time 2022 rolls around,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen is that it's going to open up the Republicans to do their own infrastructure bill that's going to look a lot different than what the Democrats want,
Right.
and it's not going to include any of the things that they want to do. So
The Democrats' bill isn't going to. It started out at 6.8 trillion with Bernie. Somehow it got nailed down to 3.5 to try and get Republican support. Now it's at 1.75 trillion just to get Joe Manchin's support. And it's going to be negotiated down from there because the Republicans haven't even gotten involved yet. Like Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot for no reason. Like what do Republicans even have to do? The number keeps going down without their involvement, you know?
oh, absolutely. Basic, and that's the funny thing about Democrats is because Joe Manchin did the whole, well, I could become an independent if that would help the Democrats out, and the Democrats all
Right.
went, no, 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 please don't do that,
Yeah.
please,
Well,
please,
if
please,
I'm an
please.
embarrassment to you, I might as well leave the party. Yeah, maybe you should, bro.
Not that Joe Manchin
Bye.
was ever a good Democrat.
Right? No, I
Which
feel
whatever,
I
which
left the
whatever.
Democrats. I'm an independent now. I don't see why he shouldn't. Why would you be forced to have an idea and pay a percentage of what you get in donations to a party that doesn't represent you? You know what I mean?
Hmm?
I don't know. I don't understand why anybody's Republican or Democrat anymore. I want the ability to think what I want to think, and that's an independent.
Hmm. And I like being somewhere in the middle, just with less government involvement.
Yeah,
Same. I agree with that 100%. It's like, get
right.
those
Like
people out of there. Like, get
the
out of my
government,
pockets.
I mean, you look at it, the government has proven time and time again, most of the things that they do, they're highly inefficient at. I mean, Debbie and I were even just talking about this locally, you know, Adam, you probably have seen this as much as I have, but when you look at the homeless population around here, how much money has our local government collected in terms of tax money to be able to solve the homeless crisis? And what have they done?
Nothing.
They built 30 tiny homes and bought a lot.
That is just absolutely ridiculous. They just pile them up, and I still see them on the side of the road. They're big
Mhm.
fires, big encampments. Throwing shit at DOT trucks, throwing shit at
Mhm.
people, harassing them. There's nothing solved. There's no situation that's been solved.
And
It's
And
all
just
and
you
even for Debbie and I, like earlier this week, there are literally people sitting outside of the shelter. We were having a conversation with them because you're like, oh, somebody reached out
Mhm.
saying they were desperate to eat. So we were like, we stocked up on some stuff for the pandemic. Things have normalized. So we're going to take some of those things that, we're going to be able to donate and, somebody's going to get to eat tonight. And we're
Right.
talking with them. They live outside of they're outside of a shelter that supposedly is getting money. And somehow these people are only able to eat once a day,
damn.
despite all of the tax money that's been collected. What the
Mm.
fuck is even happening?
What
Yeah,
that's what
that's
I want to know.
ridiculous.
Like the American can't we all think homelessness is this like cancer that's across the land. It's 550,000 people a year out of 350 million. If 350 million people can't help 550,000, there's a problem.
There's a
Well,
huge
if
problem.
I would say if your government says that they're going to take tax money to help solve homeless issues,
Mm-hmm.
such as, basic things like food and shelter, but they're not even fucking, they patted themselves on the back when they built 30 tiny homes and bought a lot. And
Right.
yet somehow we have numerous vacant buildings that could be used as shelter places. And you have people sitting outside of shelters that are still saying they only get to eat once a day.
But Jeffrey, I
And,
don't want
and some of the
shelters in
people,
my neighborhood.
and that's what it boils down to. Everybody wants to shuffle it away. And when you shuffle it away, you still don't deal with any of the other problems, like people needing to fucking eat
or work or have pride in their existence.
Well, and like, for example, like we've talked about, even if you were homeless and you wanted to go to work, what's the first thing you have to have when you apply for a job?
Phone number, address, email.
And what don't you have if you're homeless?
Phone number,
none of that.
address, email. Right.
So how in the hell is somebody supposed to go to work if they don't have an address?
Exactly.
How? I mean, we don't even have a system set up so that way somebody could, even if they're still living out of their vehicle, we don't have a way for them to actually just be like, here is my address. This is where I come to collect my mail.
Right.
Even places like, Utah, like I've talked about before, they found out that housing the homeless was cheaper than running them through the justice system multiple times. In New Mexico, what they've done is that instead of hiring people in order to be all these low paid city workers to do different things like clean up garbage and all that, they paid homeless people to do that and let them build themselves up.
Yeah.
And
In Chicago, they just give us all illegal guns and let us shoot each other.
Well, I mean, Chicago's always gone its own way.
In Florida, we give them the forest and let them just build encampments there away from everyone.
You mean kind of like Brian Laundrie? I mean, oops.
Yep.
Yeah, Olympia, they just let the homeless run free, and there's orgies and Priuses and all sorts of weird shit.
Right?
Orgies and Priuses.
There's no problems getting solved. It's all being shoved onto somebody else. Oh, the city of Olympia wants to shove it off to the county. The county wants to shove it off to DOT. DOT is like, it's just got to start at the lowest level possible. How can we just pushing the problem around? You guys are taking money. You guys are not fixing anything. What's the deal? And who's going to hold them accountable?
All you need is an office with one person, a computer, and a phone, so that a homeless person can come in and say, I lost my job. This is what I did. Okay, click. Here's a place you can go apply. Next.
We have that with Remedy or Manpower.
But we have to solve it at that level. We have to get the families out of being homeless by stopping what caused them to be homeless as a family. The veterans, we need to help them as the veterans. And then you get to the chronic homeless and you go, okay, let's house and help them. You know what I mean? But 21,000 homeless people, but 5,000 of them chronic, leaves 16,000 that have a reason to their homelessness that you can fix, that you can address, right?
Yeah. And and what it boils down to is that the government has proven to me that they're more than willing to take the money to then go, okay, yeah, you guys can deal with that problem. We're going to take this money, we're going to use it somewhere else. And that's bullshit. Right. Like if the money that I'm paying is going to go to somebody to not do anything, I would rather have my money back and actually donate it to somebody who will do something.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Everyone agrees that when I explain it to what's your podcast about? And I say, look, the government takes $100 from you, but then gives you $2 back. Like, do you think that's fair? Or do you think that maybe you should give that 75 of that to your local community and keep 25? And they start getting it. They start understanding why we're podcasting. It's government is dysfunctional, and you either have to hold them accountable or have a private industry battle through competition to improve things. It's one of those two ways in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we have those private companies giving money to the politicians so they don't have to kind of have that competition, and politicians don't have to be held accountable because they're getting money, then everything's fucked up and we're out of the process.
Man, can you imagine having a job where you get paid a bunch of money to not do jack shit?
Yeah, I'm going to run for Congress.
Damn, hell yeah, there you go.
Yeah. The ultimate get paid to do nothing.
Yeah, well, Matt Gaetz is under indictment. Nobody else is running, so I figured.
Wait, has he actually been indicted yet?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't know if they've been indicted yet.
I know that they brought in 2 top-level prosecutors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this
It's
ought
gonna
to
be.
be interesting.
I'm just gonna walk around Pensacola going, "Send me to Congress, and I'll get the money back you gave them."
What if what if the pedophiles weren't the pedophiles that we were told, but just the pedophiles that we met along the way? Picture of
Hmm.
Matt Gates.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, if the dude was literally taking underage girls across state lines to doink them, I mean, I hate to tell the Republicans this, but that picture of you looking tough to find the pedophiles, but you're
Mhm.
harboring one.
Right.
Yeah. Mm.
And
Bad
bad
luck.
news for America, that's every Florida man. Like
Yeah.
we destroy girls by the age of 13. They're broken, like they're abused, they're destroyed. So we have to find younger and younger women here that aren't already cynical. And that's where Matt Gates comes in.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a horrible, disgusting state. Like you can just step backwards 3 feet from or 3 steps from somebody and shoot them.
God damn.
It's just a crazy place.
Florida
So yeah,
women, yeehaw.
I want to run for Congress. Yeah, maybe I'll have Adam interview me for that. But I'm just
There you go.
my
Done.
platform is going to be I don't care about Biden. I don't care about Trump. I care about the money you gave the government that I'm going to get back for you. That's it.
What's the chant? Let's go, Brandon.
I don't care that
Have you
that
seen
gets me.
that? Have you
What?
seen that one?
No.
What's that all about?
So at one of the NASCAR races, some guy won, and his name was Brandon. I forget who the NASCAR racer was, but the crowd decided that would be the opportune time to start an entire chant yelling "fuck Joe Biden." But the person who was interviewing the winner of 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 the race did the worst cover-up job of all time, and she's like, "Oh yeah," and you can hear the crowd. They're all screaming, "Let's go, Brandon!"
Oh my God. Wow.
Worst cover-up of all time. So now you just see a bunch of people that their rally cry is "Let's go, Brandon."
I wonder what the heck that deal is with that. Because like I was listening to that. Yeah, we were at the football game yesterday and we're hearing people say that. I'm like, what the fuck is who's a
Let's go,
Brandon?
Brandon.
Who's Brandon?
So that's the undercover way of saying fuck you, Biden.
Fuck Joe Biden.
Look, Donald Trump or Joe Biden wouldn't look as bad if we didn't expect them to be the answer to everything. They're not the answer to everything. Like at some point, we got to take responsibility for our own yards and our own neighbors and our own
Yeah.
communities and our
Yep.
own little cities. We can't ask Joe Biden to fix a pothole. Don't get
Yeah.
mad when he doesn't.
You can't expect Trump or Biden to fix your local policing issues.
That's right.
You know,
You don't want
neither
them
of them
to.
have any power in that. Now, granted, yes, both of them had power to do some things that were
Mhm.
pretty fucking stupid and shady, and I gotta keep hammering on Democrats and Biden for saying and millionaires and billionaires will pay for
I
it.
love that. And Mexico, I know
While
millionaires will pay for it.
yeah, it literally it's the Democrats version of and Mexico will pay for it.
Oh
It has
my
literally been that. And look, and billionaires will pay for it. Meanwhile, the plan that they rolled out was actually to look at all accounts
Uh-huh.
that had $600 in transactions. I'm like,
Yeah.
when the fuck has $600 made somebody a millionaire or billionaire?
Right?
wow.
Fuck,
Yeah. But
you know?
there's a new chant now that I noticed. I mentioned it on Twitter and then I started seeing it and the military will pay for it. Like we're
Ooh.
not at war. They have trillions of dollars in a budget. They won't mind missing 6.8 billion a year, you know?
So
The
it's
military will pay. It's always going to be somebody else that pays for it, but in the end, it's always going to be us.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter
absolutely.
where you shift the money to, it's going to come out of our pockets,
Uh-huh.
100%.
So the
whether
idea
it's a
that
wall or not.
Mhm.
right. And so the idea that, anybody is going to pay for it has just been fucking hysterical. And the fact that, the moment you started sitting down saying and millionaires and billionaires will pay for it, and then somehow we end up getting this, and we're going to look at $600 bank accounts. Are you fucking high? It was no different. It was no different than when Trump said, and Mexico will pay for it, and then slapped a bunch of tariffs on Mexico and raised prices on all of us. No, Mexico didn't pay for shit. It was us that paid for it through higher grocery prices, through higher prices of goods. This is going to be no different in that, every account that's got $600 in it, fuck that, think about it this way. If all three of us wanted to go to a concert and Jason bought us concert tickets and it worked out to be $600, Jason's going to get taxed on that when we pay him back.
Yeah.
Kinda. It's over the course of a year. So you could have $100,000 in your account, but if at the end of the year you have an increase of $600, they're going to look at it. So yeah, you could give me $600. I could spend $600. They wouldn't look at my account because there wasn't more than 600 in there. But at the end, if there's more than what
that's what the newest version is. The version was whether it was any account that had $600 go through it. That was the original version. Wow. So it didn't matter.
Right.
But now they're raising that to 10,000 supposedly. Now they keep going back and forth between 10,000 and 600, and it's let me tell you, it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit
because it can be used against us just as well as it can be used for us. You can tell me you're using it to catch millionaires, but they're going to tell millionaires they're using it to catch me.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's no long-range thought to these policies they're making. Like,
oh hell no.
Everybody says, why doesn't anybody support Build Back Better? Well, bitch, there's no text, there's no law, there's nothing written that I can look at and approve of. Like I looked for the Build Back Better plan, and all I could find was Joe Biden's original campaign wishes. There's no other version of that bill that I can read and support, but they're just like, support us. Here's what's in it. Maybe kind of trust us. And they want support for that.
Meanwhile, the one thing that they actually have done, they're like, no, we're not going to do this until we get our reconciliation. It's like,
right.
Well, at the rate that you're going to get neither, and you're going to look real fucking dumb. And guess what's going to happen? Republicans are going to get elected because people get tired of their government doing jack shit.
Right.
Unless you're a libertarian. And then you're like, look, you guys haven't gotten anything done and it hasn't cost me any money. Fantastic.
You know what that means? The last thing Biden did for us was say, we're going to get you $2,000 and then gave us $1,400 and said Trump gave you $600. That's the last thing he did for us, was lie to us and give us less than he said he was going to give us.
Damn.
When you think about it, right? Isn't that sad?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
you piece of shit.
I mean, and that Republicans aren't part of the process. They just want to watch this fail. I want everybody to realize that Democrats are failing trying. Republicans are failing not trying, but the failure affects us, you and me. When they don't do something, it punishes us, not Democrats.
Absolutely.
And these guys get paid to do nothing, and that's what bugs me. And I don't understand how somebody elects somebody for Senate in Arkansas, and that guy from Arkansas says, I'm just going to look through the butt cheeks of a guy from Kentucky. Like, I don't get that. Be a leader, Like, I don't care who you are. If you're a senator, you have the same power as any other senator. You don't have to stand behind Mitch McConnell's neck waddle. You know what I mean? Be your own fucking person.
Oh,
I love that. You guys are great. Hey, Jeffrey, have you ever heard of the China Initiative?
I've heard of a lot of different things, but what are you thinking of in terms of China Initiative?
The China Initiative is something created by the DOJ to catch Chinese espionage. But
I've heard a little. I know a little bit about that.
AAPI people are getting caught in it. So, like Ted Lieu had been mentioning how Asian descent people are getting roped into this and detained, although they're innocent. But I was reading through the DOJ examples. Holy cow. There is hundreds of Chinese sympathizers just doing that forced transfer technology thing you're talking about in all sorts of ways, from like nuclear triggers to just college research.
Yep. I know. I'm familiar with some of it. like for example, the college research side, but I'm actually a little bit familiar with. And what it boils down to is the funny thing is that everybody goes, oh, we got to be looking for people who look like they're Chinese and doing this. Meanwhile, it's been a bunch of white people that have been getting busted for fucking selling stuff to the Chinese, and
everyone.
Because I want to say that we just had a case, was it last week, where someone got busted for selling nuclear stuff to the Chinese, and he's a white dude.
Damn.
Right. Yeah. A white lady was trying to sell Nancy Pelosi's computer to the Russians.
Yep. So I mean, the reality is that, some of these fucking crazy things, people go, oh yeah, no, it's totally like we did this with the Japanese back in World War II, is that all these Japanese descendants have to be doing stuff for the Japanese. Meanwhile, if there was anybody doing anything, it wasn't them. And we've seen this with the Russians and the
German,
Soviets.
Yeah.
We've seen this with the Germans. We've seen this with we've seen this with the Chinese. People are opportunists. What was it? Robert Hansen was, the guy who was selling Soviet, secrets to the Soviets for decades, and then they finally busted him in like 2001.
Holy cow, we have an episode of that on Public Access America, his interview. Holy shit. But you never hear about America getting the stuff we're getting, right?
Oh yeah, no, you don't hear about that from us. It's a back and forth game.
Because we're the good guys. We don't steal things. We just invent them. Right? Right? We're the good guys, right? Tell me we're the good guys.
Are we?
Please.
Coughs coughs nervously in Nazi German rocket technology.
Oof. That's gotta suck. It's gotta burn in the morning.
Right? Man, coyote ugly politics here.
Oh, it's all bullshit. That's the thing about politics is it's about 95% bullshit, like just posturing, virtue signaling, and the other 5% is just straight up not fucking doing anything worthwhile.
Yeah.
That's we see this time and again on the left and the right. They put up a big fucking fuss and a fight, and the moment that they leave office, all of a sudden they're doing different things. We saw that with John Boehner, for example. We're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. The moment he quits, all of a sudden he's talking about all these Republican shitheads being shitheads. It's like, dude, you were one of those fucking shitheads.
And now he's an investor in weed. And he was against weed the whole time.
Yeah. And it's like your fucking position is for sale. And I say that because, while the Republicans are hypocrites about it, the Democrats are hypocrites about it too. You've got a bunch of Democrats that are going, oh, there is absolutely no way that we will allow abortion to be illegal. Meanwhile, after they leave office, they're talking about how heinous abortion is and this, that, and the other. And it's like, your position is for sale.
They've had 50 years to create an amendment to the Constitution that fits abortion. Why wasn't it ready? Why didn't they present that the minute Texas did their law? Because they don't have a policy, because it's something they use to campaign on, not something they want to resolve. And they're using, Democrats and Republicans are using women just to collect donations. And they're each a stop to each other. Like, they're supposed to stop each other from making progress. Democrats use Republican majorities to say, look what we tried, and Republicans are the same way. We wanted to, but the Democrats just stopped us. That's the way politics works. I think an infusion of independence might help that. I'm hoping.
Hopefully bring the country together, because it seems like both parties are trying to just divide us racially,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But they're all going to kick us out into one group that's called independent, and we're just going to start running that way. And I like that. I don't have to, when I run for an election, I don't have to give a party 25 to 50% of my donation income. I don't even have to ask for donations. All I need to do is have a podcast and a Twitter profile, and I can run for anything I want.
Vote for Jason.
Jeffrey said it. The candidate that learns how to use social media in a responsible and honest way is going to get their votes. or something like that.
When the politician who figures out how to use social media to outreach to their constituents the best,
Right.
they're going to get the votes. Period. End of
Yep.
story. When people finally realize that they don't have to sit down and do all of this fucking, cheerleader bullshit and walk all of
Right.
these lines, and they actually get to meet the person and ask questions and learn what their position is, there's going to be people out there go like, okay, I might not necessarily agree with you on that one, but on about 95% of other things, yeah, you're right up my alley. Oh, and what's
Right.
this? You don't have a D or an R next to your name? Okay.
I'll listen. I wonder what he's about, right? You don't presume that he's a liberal, gun-hating, abortion-loving Democrat when he's got an I next to his name.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. And Evan McMullen's running against Mike Lee in Utah. I'm going to use that as an example to see like a litmus test. I mean, we have these contests like in Virginia where Democrats and Republicans are saying this is the future that, no, it isn't. It's just a governorship in Virginia. You know what I mean? Stop it.
Stop
Get
it.
out of here.
You're just trying to raise money. Joe Biden's going there. Like they think money equals a vote. And that's a real issue in America. You know what I mean?
Huge.
It doesn't.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think people need to run without collecting donations. Like some of the progressives say they don't take PAC money, but stop taking money from individuals. We don't have the money to give you. Stop asking for it. Adam works fucking hard for his money. He can't just keep affording to donate to politicians that aren't going to serve his purposes anyway.
They don't even talk to me anyway. So you know what? Nope.
Right. How long have we been asking Maria Cantwell to get on? Or
forever.
Right. And we had one guy, and that guy was kind of a shit show to me,
Right. And that's what it boils down to is that politicians, they're going to throw their time in where they get paid.
Yeah.
And that's and for the average person out there, that's what they need to understand is they don't give a shit about you. They give a shit about money.
Right.
Yeah.
And until, and maybe what needs to happen is that the American people just need to be fucking tired of parties altogether. No Republicans, no Democrats, no independents, no libertarians. It's like individually, here's my response to all of these main topics. This is what I support. If I align with what you're looking for, then vote for me. And I don't have a fucking letter next to my name.
That's what I consider an independent to be, but maybe non-affiliated is a better term,
Well, and that's just it. It's like, I get why people say independent. I get why people say libertarian. I get why people say green. I get it. But at the same time, too, the sole reason people vote for one of two people is because they have the letter D or the letter R next to their name, and they don't give a shit about what that person may or may not actually support or what they have actually done. I think it's Devi that keeps telling me, what have you done?
That's right. Not tried to do, but accomplished. Yeah.
So
I mean, Nancy Pelosi tried getting us voter rights, but she knew Mitch McConnell was not going to allow it. So trying when you know you're not going to succeed, that's how lazy people do work. And we've all worked with those people. Oh, I tried getting my work done, but it was impossible. But now you do my work because, well, you'd already did yours.
Yeah. Right. Or this is the way it's always been done, is the one thing I keep hearing.
Right. And that's what I always think when I think about these people. I think they're just at work like I was at work, and it's just other people at work. You know what I mean? When I think of Mitch McConnell, I think about me doing all my work, giving it to my boss to show him that I worked, and him doing nothing with it and not acknowledging it and going, well, you didn't do anything today. That's how I see that. And I see it the same way with the Democrats going, look at all the work I did that can't get processed because I knew it couldn't,
I mean, let's think about it. Adam, what would you do if you had someone on your crew who said, look at everything that I tried to do, but they didn't get the job done?
Right.
Well, let's give you those walking papers now. Bye. That's not going to work.
Politicians should be no different. It's like at some point, the I tried to is not fucking good enough. Like, because I can tell you what you did. You collected a lot of fucking donation money, lived yourself a very nice and extravagant lifestyle based off of that quote unquote campaign road that you were living on. And you didn't actually get a fucking thing done. It's like we still got people out on the fucking streets that are hungry saying they've only ate once a day.
Once. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. I think that people need to step up, honestly. Just step up, pay attention to what's going on around you. Change something, man. I mean,
right. That's what I said. Donald Trump is exposed, is that whole process. He realized he could just get money from people to live his life. Like my friend said, he used to just make money putting his name on buildings. And I said, yeah, now he puts it on politicians. There's no difference to what he's doing.
Yeah,
true.
There is no difference.
Right.
It's absolutely true.
It's still a scam and a grift. And you might say Joe Biden is incompetent. I say he's not dangerous.
That's basically what I've told people that I've talked to. It's like, I didn't like Trump because the biggest red flag is that he was going to do everything he could to stay in power. Yeah. And it's exactly what he has done. He might not be president of the United States, but he is head of the GOP. Period. Right. In the story. And as long as people keep donating to the GOP, Donald Trump keeps getting money. And
25% of every donation. Yep.
Joe Biden, look, that dude, I don't have any question that when he gets voted out of office, he's going to leave. Or if he happens to get 2 terms, that he's going to leave. There's no question about that. But if you had to ask me what has he done so far for the American people, the answer is jack shit.
Jack shit. Me personally, jack shit.
Because the party is not doing anything that they've said that they were going to do.
Right. People are still being separated on the border.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's still
100%.
Happening.
That's still happening.
That's still an issue. Hasn't gone away. Hasn't been fixed. Hasn't been resolved.
The only thing that they did was they instead of calling it kids in cages, they called it children in overflow facilities. It's the same fucking thing. As they said, gush it up however you want, Trebek.
Right. And they're still kicking people out based on the pandemic initiatives that were created under Trump, right? It's Section 42 or whatever. You have to leave. Like even people that were vaccinated are being kicked out by a policy that says COVID means we can kick you out.
It's ridiculous. That's absolutely
and they're sending
ridiculous.
them back to Haiti. These people, they left Haiti because of the conditions. They went to Venezuela. Joe Biden came into power. They said, oh, cool, we can go to America. Came here, and America's like, no, go back to Haiti. Well, why can't I go back to Venezuela? It's safer for me. Like, why were you sending me to Haiti? Like, right. Like, don't send anybody back to Haiti. And Mexico's like, hey, Haitians, just come here. And they're like, no way.
Yeah, no.
we want America. Right. That's a shame. I think America and Mexico have a real chance to work together to become a more cohesive America. You know what I mean? I just really do. I mean, they're the political perspective.
Canada, the US, and Mexico have a great opportunity to work together to do really great things, especially in the face of countering what the next level threats are across the world.
Yeah.
We have this opportunity for all of us to have a much better, much friendlier, much more cohesive life together. But like everything else, politicians and politics have done everything that they can to, and successfully, divide us to keep us from being able to do anything together.
Hey, they put us in these pair of glasses, this political pair of glasses, and said, see everything through that.
It just makes zero sense to me. I mean, you know what I mean?
Politics doesn't matter when you're having a beer next to the campfire with your buddy, right?
Well, kind of. It just depends. I mean, it really shouldn't. It really absolutely shouldn't. There should be just no talk of that shit. Just like, let's just be humans.
Yeah.
And I think the politicians have just lost sight of being human. How can we make more money? How can we more power, more money, more power, more money, more power? And that's it.
Yeah.
That's just the whole political thing. And that's why I've always steered away from it, because none of it's interested me, because all I see is suffering. I'm on the suffering end of the politics. I don't see the benefit. And even if I was on the benefit side of it, I think there would be something big for me to stand up and say, hey, we got some just has to change, and I'd use that
Right.
benefit to make that change. But then not all people are like that, right? So
Right.
somebody's screaming, "Hey, this isn't going to benefit me. This isn't. I don't see no benefits from it." All of a sudden they get some. They're like, "Ooh, I see. Now I'm going to be on
Mhm.
that side." You know what I mean? So they forget where they came from.
Right.
You know.
There's a
So
real issue with the media having people say, well, this is what regular people want. This is what average people want. This is what,
yes,
fuck you. I'm not a regular person. I'm
right.
not a general person.
I'm
I'm not
not.
the masses. I'm not a population. I'm Jason. And if you
Yep.
listen to my podcast with Jeffrey or Adam Has a Beard, you're going to find out what people really think. And that's the
Yeah.
problem is everybody says Democrats are a bunch of elites that talk to elites about average people instead of talking to average people. And even when we tell them that, they don't know how to not do that. And Republicans, they just straight out talk to regular people, but they bullshit them so bad. Like
Right.
they could change the world with the messaging that they have, the ability to message that they have. They just choose to bullshit us. And Democrats, they
100%.
want to help us, but they don't know how because they don't talk to us. Do you
They
want
do a
that?
great job
Josh?
hoarding our votes and our money, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, look at the time. I've got a thing that I've got to do that's not
Yeah.
anywhere near you."
But they're always like,
Yeah.
we want to help your children. Here's a tax credit. Oh, by the way, you're going to get screwed at the end of every year now. Like, if you had given
Yes.
me the choice, just, I don't want the tax credit, give me free college. Like, you know what I mean?
100%. Free college,
So,
free healthcare, something.
but they don't know because they don't talk to us,
No,
And
they
that's what
don't.
this show is about. And this is why I appreciate you and your show, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the parent company to me. I always say it to everybody, man. It's like, Public Access America is my parent company. Like NBC News has those guys, what are they called? The donut hiders? I don't know what the fuck
The
they
donut
are.
hiders.
I like that.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
I like that.
But I got a parent company who actually listens and they make a difference and people are listening, and it's just
Right.
some scissoring and some weird, but it's
It's an
it's a good time.
insertion. It's an
I don't know.
insertion process. Like aggressive masturbation, right, Jeffrey?
Right.
Aggressive
That
masturbation.
that's full circle. Thank you for being here, everybody. I
Full
love you
circle
guys.
jerk.
Thank you. Thanks. Good
Full
to see you
circle,
guys.
circle jerk. I love that.
Hey, you know what you say on my show, man. I love you guys. Hey, man, everybody love everybody. Be good.
Everybody love everybody. Watch
Everybody
Semi-Pro.
love everybody. Yeah.
What a great movie. You forget how great it is. Like, I'm crying at the end when he's like, my mom told me we would win with the alley-oop, and them trying to describe it like this is the play where somebody jumps up out of nowhere and slams it. It's called an alley-oop. Oh, I like that. Just that they didn't make Will Ferrell like the goofball loser, that he actually contributed with talent, that's why I like that movie, because everybody is worthy of love in that.
Yeah,
Oh,
100%. 100%.
I'll miss you, Coffee Black.
He went on to be a real pro.
Yeah, that's what bugged me at the end. They were like, hey, we want you and your alley-oop in the league. And I was like, that's not his alley-oop. That's Jackie's alley-oop,
They didn't, they just look past that.
Everybody love everybody, because I love you.
I love you too, guys.
Bye. Enjoy the game. Yay.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.